Here we go. So today we're going to talk about 10 things that 2K can do to make my team more enjoyable. And they're really simple things that they can do. There's nothing stopping them from doing it. So let's just put it out there and let's see, what kind of response they give to this video. The reason I'm releasing this is a couple of weeks ago I released a video saying sort of 10 things you can do to make my team more enjoyable. I think it's important we don't kind of let 2K off the hook, especially when it comes to simple things. Before we get into today's video, guys, as always, please like and subscribe. I've said that a lot over the last month or so, and the subs have definitely come in. I don't know if you've seen on Facebook or Twitter, but I said that we got to 500 subs today. I cannot believe that we've hit 500 subs in January. My goal was to get to 200 by June. So that just shows you where we're at in that trajectory, and your support is really, really appreciated. Every like, every sub. I love the comments. I love interacting with you guys, and we've built an awesome little community here within 2K. But let's get into today's video. Let's talk about the things that 2K can do right now to make our experience playing this game way, way better than it is. The first thing, and maybe the most important thing, is the amount of time they're asking us to dedicate to this game. Now, I love the fact that 2K have kind of changed things up this year. Last year we had to go 12-0, and that was basically it. There was nothing left to do. And now we've got XP Agenda, we've got Unlimited, we've got Limited, and all these different things. And on its own, objectively, introducing all these three game modes is a really good idea. But the problem is, every single one of those game modes is completely over the top. Unlimited going from basically 12-0 to 68-0. Let's be honest, there's no real difference. They just asked us to win 50 more games. That's not an improvement. In fact, if anything, that makes it worse. Less people are going to get success on it. Less people are going to get the rewards. And just the amount of time you have to dedicate, and the kind of structure of it. You get to Galaxy Opal tier, you lose one game, you've got to start it all again. It's just way, way too much. They need to reduce it. They need to bring it down to 25, 30 games. That's fine. Keep those little tier systems in place. It's still a test. It's still a 50-50 game every time you play someone. I think trying to win 68 games or, trying to win 56 games, whatever, and then go 12-0, I just think it's way, way too much. They need to reduce the amount of games required on Unlimited. Secondly, they need to do the same thing with the XP Agenda. Now, the XP Agenda is, again, a great idea on its own, but just the sheer time you need to dedicate to that is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, in terms of being unenjoyable, those two things are probably the most unenjoyable things for me. Just the amount of time I have to dedicate to Unlimited to get it done. And the XP Agenda grind is just so unbelievably boring. They have to reduce it because I don't think they can make it massively more interesting, but I will talk about that stuff in a sec. And even things like Limited, when it's kind of on its own, it's fine. As a standalone thing, it's on its own, it's fine. But when you put it on top of the XP grind and the Unlimited grind and everything, it's just too much. And I think this is where 2K are letting themselves down a little bit because, people with families and jobs and things like that should still be able to get sort of maximum success in the game. Catering this towards people who basically have unlimited free time, just doesn't seem like a good business move. Like, I run two businesses. I'm married. I've got a lot of things going on. I've got a YouTube channel and all these different things. Like, I shouldn't have to spend like every free moment I have on the game. I don't really understand what 2K are getting out of that. Just reduce it down, make it more manageable, make sure, someone who's even like, when you go from casual to sort of 100, if you look at like that sort of spectrum of like someone who barely touches the game to someone who's on the game all the time, the 50% marker should be someone who should be able to get complete success on the game. But actually, we're probably talking about 80-90% of your time being dedicated to this game. It's not practical, and it's definitely not fun. Now, staying on a similar theme, the next thing they need to do is make the XP Agenda challenges more fun. Just playing X amount of games, it becomes a grind by the way that they phrased it, right? You have to play 100 games of this. Like, that is not something that someone's going to load into and go, yes, I'm really excited, especially when it's a boring mode like TT Offline. But outside of that, even the specific challenges for players, they're very lazy when it comes to the XP challenges. Now, I'm not saying everyone should be shooting threes and dunks and things like that, but the creativity just isn't there, and the common sense is often missing as well. When you take a centre with 50 speed and you're asking us to get 15 dunks with him, that's something that can take someone half an hour to get 100 XP. I mean, is it even worth putting it on there? Because no one's going to do it. If it is that type of card, just make it blocks and rebounds. Make it straightforward. There's plenty of diversity in the players in the game to make sure we've got enough, players to focus on dunks, on threes, on rebounds, on blocks. It should be self-explanatory. But when you're taking a card and then asking us to do something which is completely out of that card's comfort zone, it becomes very toxic, like trying to do it. And it becomes quite demotivating. Again, you should never be loading into this game going, oh God, I've got to play this now for half an hour. That's not a feeling we should ever have. Now, the next thing is removing exploits from the game. To say it's the end of January and 2K still haven't humbled themselves enough to take out stick shooting is incredible. I mean, the arrogance behind it is genuinely unbelievable, to be honest. 2K have tried for 3 years now to get us to use stick shooting, and every time they introduce it, it's unanimously rejected by us, the customers, the community, right? We don't want it in the game, so we don't use it. So now they have the opportunity to take it out because once again, it's been rejected, right? Now you're probably saying, well, what's the problem? If someone wants to use stick shooting, fine. Less than 1% of people playing this game use stick shooting, and I'm sure the majority of those people wouldn't have been fussed at all if it was never introduced and they just had to use the button. The problem is now it's purely an exploit for modded controllers, Zens. Like, it is literally just a cheat that's built into the game, and there's no reason for it to still be there other than the fact that 2K are too arrogant to admit that they were wrong again. I really don't understand this obsession with stick shooting and why they're trying to get us to do it. It doesn't make any sense to me, but 2K, you need to give up on this idea. Until you get the mechanisms right, we're going to continue to reject it. And if it's an exploit, the majority of the community are going to reject it anyway. So now is the time to take it out. Just take it out. You're going to lose nothing. The next thing is, I think, to stop intentionally punishing people for buying packs. Now, I'm not someone who buys packs, but I don't have an issue with anyone who does. The problem is that they release cards at such a rate now, and so intentionally. I think that's the difference. Like, okay, there needs to be a natural progression of a player with, you know, sort of upgrading tiers over time. Like, we expect to get an Amethyst LeBron, then a Diamond LeBron, then a Pink Diamond, and an Opal. That's supposed to happen throughout the course of the year. The problem is it's January and that's already happened. You know, a card like LeBron, when he drops in packs, you know, a Pink Diamond, for example, whatever, people are going to start ripping those packs because they want that card. For 3 weeks later, for an Opal to drop and completely devalue and make that entire moment pointless, you know, someone might have spent $100, $200. We've seen YouTubers who spent $2,000 to get that LeBron because it just was so rare in packs. If they now release a Dark Matter within a couple of months, I mean, it's just such a slap in the face. The cards need to last longer. Like, if you really want people to be invested, and like I said, spend money because they feel like they're going to get some value, there's probably been 5 or 6 cards that have truly held their value for more than 3 weeks this season. You know, the T-Mac and LeBron, we sit here and we go, oh, you know, these cards are going to hold their value for ages. But they actually won't. Because when they released the Possessed packs, you know, there was a T-Mac and a LeBron there, and those cards lost their value within about 3 weeks. You know, it's just the way it is. And they, you know, they had to add that extra incentive, you know, where you get a Hall of Fame badge and all of this. Like, everything is just too geared towards money and making you constantly feel like you're wasting your money or constantly making you feel like you have to spend more money. They just need to think these things through a little bit because, you know, the Inferno packs were released. I'm absolutely convinced of this. The Inferno packs were released because of Terry Dishinger. That's the first time I've used his real name. Because they released that card in TT Offline, they realised they messed up and they released the best card in the game for free. They did 2 things straight away. One, they just completely obliterated the odds on anyone picking up Terry. And then they released Galaxy Opals because they had to recover quickly because they don't want the community running free cards. They want us running those overpowered paid for cards. And don't tell me, you know, cards like on the XP Agenda, Kawaii and stuff are free. Absolutely not. You're burning 500,000 MT just trying to get there. You know, even if you're doing it, you know, in quite a casual way and you're not buying OP cards, you're still burning contracts and everything else. It costs a lot to get those cards. So when a truly free card comes out, this is their reaction. They just need to slow down on the content release. Just, you know, there should be a good 2-3 months where, you know, we sit at Pink Diamond. We shouldn't be at Galaxy Opals already. You know, it is January. We've got 9 months left of the game, 8 months left of the game. And all we've got left now to look forward to is Dark Matter cards. And they'll probably go over the top at the end. We'll have some GOAT cards or some signature series or something. But just let it kind of balance itself out for a bit. So if someone picks up a card, they could be confident for at least 2 months they'll get their money's worth out of that card. I don't think that's a lot to ask. The next thing is patching gameplay issues. Now, the most unenjoyable thing about 2K this year, whether it's current gen or next gen, is the gameplay is just terrible. It is really, really, really bad. And you know, I'm going to get into more details why that's the case. But there are some obvious things that are happening right now, which are very, very easy for 2K to fix. Right? Let's start with next gen. Like, we are at a point where we are end of January, and the fadeaway threes has been a gameplay issue for nearly 4 months. On a new release, on a new game, on their kind of franchise, right, release, This was supposed to be such a big deal, that next gen was supposed to be the best thing ever, and we were all looking forward to it. And for the first few months, people were running around the perimeter, shooting fadeaway threes from limitless range, and they didn't patch it. They've released a note this week saying that they're going to patch it. I still don't think it has been patched. How can you let this sit in your game for 3 months? 3 months? You're just ignoring this on your next gen, kind of franchise release. You're ignoring this obvious issue. And it's not like we're subtle. Literally, you see any post from 2K on Twitter, and the first 1,000 comments are patch fadeaways on next gen. Why did it take 3 or 4 months? And it still hasn't happened yet. And there are other issues as well. This is the funny thing. 2K play into this stuff. On current gen, we've got issues as well. Some of this carries over to next gen. Speed boosting is an issue on current gen. Again, they could patch it very easily, but they haven't. And the curry slide. Now, this is the funniest one for me, because the curry slide is just the most overpowered move we've ever seen in 2K. Right? You tap down and left a couple of times, and you're wide open for a three. There's no way to stop it. There's no real way to guard it. Unless you're a top 0.1% player, it's almost impossible to stop. It is bordering on an exploit. But they didn't care. This is how much they didn't care. Instead of patching it and making it less overpowered, and they've done that before. They did it last year with the magic behind the back and things like that. They did patch these moves to make them sort of less OP. Instead of doing that, they basically added it to every card. Right? Terry's come out with it, like LeBron's got the curry slide now, we know Kawhi's going to have it. Basically, they've just given it to every card, so it's now balanced. So now we're playing a game where the gameplay is dedicated towards everyone just standing on the perimeter and curry sliding until they get open. I mean, the gameplay is so bad. They've got to patch these issues, and more importantly, stop playing into it. So the next thing, I'm going to make this one quick because there's not really a huge amount to talk about, but the servers need to be improved. Now, the North American server works really well. Every other server, I know the majority of my subs are from America. If you played this game on the EU server, you would wonder why we spend money on it. Honestly, it's terrible. 9 out of 10 games, I'm lagging to an extent. 5 out of 10 games, that lag makes the game unplayable. Like, I'm literally running off the court because the input didn't register. My players release the ball before I even see the meter come up on the three. It's just horrible, like horrible. And the funniest thing is, I think the North American server is great. I think the kind of Pacific server is pretty good. And then it's a huge drop off. Like, the EU server is horrendous. The Asian server, which I've played some of my friends on, is unplayable. I mean, it's really bad. At this point, for $1 billion company to not be able to provide dedicated servers for an online game mode, because the game mode is addictive and people do want to play it. I think it's unfair that you're forcing them to play this, because you don't have any competition. They're not going to go and just jump on NBA Live because those servers are better. If they want to play a basketball game online with their friends, they have to play your game. So make it playable. I don't think that's a lot to ask. Again, I don't think it's a lot to ask. We know you've got the money. We've seen that you probably made 50 million last week just on those LeBron packs. Just use some of that money and provide servers that work for your customers. The next thing is to get rid of Algo from the game. So the next 2 points are quite similar, but they're a little bit different. Algo needs to go, especially for Unlimited. Now, I've heard every argument there is to Algo not existing. It just exists, guys. 2K have admitted it, FIFA have admitted it. Every game has told us that there is a game leveling algorithm, and there is a reason for it. So if you're skeptical about it, I'll tell you why it exists. It exists because if 2K removed Algo today, 50% of players would leave the game. If they went on to Unlimited and every game they played, they were getting blown out by 100 points. The people who are losing will just leave the game. So that's why it exists. Okay? The other argument to this is, but there's people that beat everyone. Yeah, because they're really good at the game. And there's no amount of Algo that's ever going to stop them winning. But an average game, like, a guy who's 50 to 75% sort of skill level, playing someone else in that skill level, the game is often just decided by Algo. Now, I understand. I can give 2K a pass until this year. Because in previous years, they did have that huge incentive, right? Which was they needed to keep people on the game. And especially if people are trying to go 12-0, the more people that do that, the more people that will be invested in the game. That all makes sense. This year, it doesn't make sense because they provided the solution to it. The solution to it is limited. Limited is that casual mode where you can dial the algo up as high as you want. It's low risk, it's low stakes. You can play with sort of lower cards as well. Like, it's there, it's literally there for that reason that algo exists, right? Which is to give casual players, beginners, things like that, success on the game, and not to punish them if they lose, because that's a problem. If you lose on Unlimited, it feels like a punishment, especially if it's Pink Diamond, Galaxy Opal, it can feel really big. So now there's really no reason. Unlimited needs to be that elite mode. It does. It needs to be that sweaty mode. It needs to be that if you're going to play that game mode and you're going to go for that reward, especially when you're asking us to go 68-0, that it needs to be in our hands. It shouldn't be decided by an algorithm. And, you know, if you are new to the game, there's plenty of other things to do. There's XP. If you're not good at the game, you know, limited, TTO. There's a whole host of different things to do now. So why does Algo still exist in unlimited? It just needs to be what it is, and that is the ultimate badge of honor in this game. And it needs to be done on a level playing field. Now, following on from that last point, it's a similar point, but it's different. The skill gap just in general needs to be more relevant. Now, the best example of this is full whites. Now, I hit a lot of them. I'm not a great shooter, so a lot of this is relevant to me, and a lot of the stuff I'm saying will probably make my life more difficult in the game. But I'm okay with that happening, because I think all of us are okay if we lose a game because we know the opponent was better than us. When we lose a game and we know the opponent wasn't better than us, that's when the stress kicks in, and that's when this becomes unenjoyable. So I just want to use the example of full whites, right? Now, if you think of this is supposed to be a sim, right? That's how 2K described their game. It's a sim. So full whites going in is not a problem, right? A percentage of them going in, let's say 3 out of 10 of them going in is fine. If it's an open shot, 3 out of 10 should go in. A full white should never go in when it's contested. Now, honestly, 10 a game on average, on one side or the other, there's probably 10 contested full whites that go in minimum every single game. Now, is that a skill gap? No, it's not. You know, I've got gameplay on in the background. You know, the amount of times I've played the first quarter where my opponent's knocked down 6 full whites and then they've rage quit halfway through the second quarter because that stopped. Right? These are simple fixes. It doesn't make the game so difficult that you have to be elite and green every shot, but just make it realistic. You know, if you green a shot that's contested, great, that should go in. If you hit a full white that's open, okay, there should be a higher percentage of it going in. But 10 fully contested full whites a game makes no sense to anyone. You know, when you have gods on this game that are winning games by 3 or 4 points because of these issues, like, you know something is broken. Next up, we have just some creativity and some original ideas from 2K. Now, I was excited about 2K21 because they did release you know, these kind of concepts of XP agenda and limited and all these. It's all awesome. It's really cool. I really like the fact that the game is sort of more expansive. It's wider. It's more interesting. There's more things to do, despite the fact that, as I said earlier, it's completely over the top. The problem with 2K is they literally copy and pasted all of these modes from other games. XP came from Madden. Unlimited's format came from FIFA. They literally just looked at every other game mode. And the saddest thing is they looked at every other game mode and went, where do they make their money? Because that's what we need to put into our game. That's all it was. That was the entirety of their decision making, was about money. There needs to be something that's relevant to 2K, to NBA, to basketball fans. Things that make this kind of unique and really dedicated towards sort of NBA fans, basketball fans. Just copying and pasting modes doesn't make a huge amount of sense. And that's why a lot of these XP things don't make sense, because they haven't really thought it through. They just copied a game mode over. It's why Unlimited is so over the top. If you've ever played FIFA, it is an exact copy of Ultimate Team, which has existed for 10 years. Exact copy. There isn't a difference. They literally made it identical. Make it relevant to basketball. Now, I don't know what those ideas are, but I'm not being paid, you know, 250k a year to come up with those ideas. I would love to hear you guys. Let me know in the comments, you know, game modes that you think would work really well for this game. But just stop being lazy. Like, just come up with something unique, dedicated, and thoughtful, that you've thought about the game player when you came up with these game modes. And the final thing is really, really big. You guys need to understand that if we have an issue on this game, and issues will happen, lag will happen, servers will go down, I understand all of that. But when an issue happens, you need to care about it. I basically missed Patrick Ewing this 2 seasons ago because I lagged out of 2 games. And I record all of my gameplay because I'm a content creator, which is really fortunate. And I know other people had issues, and they basically contacted 2K and they basically said, unless you've got a video of it, you know, we can't do anything about it. So that they just had to accept the fact that games had lagged out and they'd got losses. I recorded it, so I sent them the video. And then they said, oh no, we need a screenshot. So I sent them a screenshot. And then they came back to me and said, actually, we need the video. So I sent that as well. And then basically I got to this point after about 2 weeks where I was like, you know, are you going to do something about this or not? Yes, you know, we're looking into it. We've escalated it, all of this stuff. And then basically every 7 days I got an email from 2K saying, you haven't said anything in 7 days, so we're going to close this case. So every time that happened, I responded going, what's going on? You said you were going to get back to me. It's been escalated and all of these things. And They said we're still dealing with it. That's fine. Don't worry about it. Just ignore those emails. That's what they said to me. A week later, I got the same email and I said, hey, listen, is this still open? Yeah. Like, ignore those emails, please. Like, stop responding to them. So they were getting kind of shirty with me over the fact that every time I got this email saying that my case was going to be closed, that I was responding. Like, they were getting annoyed by that. So I stopped responding. And guess what happened? They never got back to me. It's just unacceptable. Care about your customer base, 2K. That is not a difficult thing. So many things go wrong. And like I said, some of those things are in your hands and some of them aren't. Either way, if it's your fault or not, it's your responsibility to look after your fan base. So that's everything, guys. Like, the reason I've released this video is the 2K21 is really conflicting for me because I think it could have been fantastic, and I still think it's got the potential to be fantastic. And I think the things that I've spoken about in this video are not difficult fixes for 2K. They just need to invest in making those changes happen. You know, whether it's next gen, whether it's current gen, you know, whether it's 2K22, whatever it is, we all have the same problems. Like, the whole community has the same problems, and the whole community is vocal about those problems. Like, we're not hiding them or being subtle about it. They just need to listen. And I'm going to say this directly. Ronnie 2K is part of the problem here, because his attitude towards the community is about him. It is about him. He's very selfish. He's very egotistical. He doesn't listen. He's more concerned with speaking than listening. You know, he drops snarky comments to people on Twitter when they ask for things to be improved. It's not helpful. But this game could be so much more enjoyable if 2K just gave it the time to listen to what we're saying, because what we're asking for is really not a lot. That's everything, guys. Thank you for watching today. We have the podcast dropping on Sunday. I will drop another video before that. I will do the 200k VC giveaway on Saturday. That's when we'll do it. So I'll be giving away 200k VC to celebrate 500 subs. Thank you again for that, guys. If you haven't subbed already, please do so now. Until next time, thanks for watching.